Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Military Mondays. If you and I don't know each other, I would love to get to know you. Please comment below and let's connect through Facebook Messenger and have a conversation. So I am a retired Air Force major, served 27 years in the Air Force, active duty, as a spouse, and then as a reservist. So if you'd like to hear more about my story, go watch the past episodes at militarymondays.info. So militarymondays.info. But I am super excited to have Betsy Ross on with me today, AKA Phyllis Didleau. Phyllis is an amazing woman. I've known Phyllis now for probably 8 or 9 years, maybe.
Yes, I would think so.
And she just has a heart for patriotism, and that's probably because her husband served. And she was a military spouse and served during a time in our military history that was really tough on our military. So welcome to the show this morning, Phyllis. I'm super excited to have you on.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So let's start with a little bit about your, and I realized it was your husband's, but I truly believe the spouses served too, about your military / your spouse's military career, and a little bit about what it was like to serve during that time.
Well, my husband graduated from DU, and there was a recruiter there from the Air Force, and he offered him a commission if he would, I think it was a 90-day basic training. And so he had been in the Army previously for 4 years, enlisted, and he was a patriot at heart. So he, even though he did get a business degree, he felt that the calling of the service. And so we were off to San Antonio. And from there, it was an adventure. I always looked at each assignment as an education and learning to get to know the people who lived there and the communities that we lived in. And I would do it all over again. It was a wonderful experience. He did serve a year in Vietnam, 1969 to 1970. And at that time, I went back to my hometown of Omaha and was able to live around my family for that year. And thankfully, praise the Lord, he came home safe and sound. And then from that assignment, we went to Hickam Air Force Base, Hawaii. And from that assignment, we went to Peterson Air Force Base here in Colorado Springs. This is actually his hometown. He graduated from Manitou High.
Oh, I didn't know that. So I learned something new about Phyllis today.
Yeah.
So I know something that happened when you were at Hickam. You actually entered a military essay contest and won, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Because you're all about military history, and that hence why you are wearing the Betsy Ross outfit today, because you do portrayals. So let's talk a little bit about that and why you are so passionate about patriotism and sharing our history with especially our children. I know you love doing portrayals in elementary and middle schools.
That's right. You mentioned my essay that I won during our stay at Hickam. It was an essay contest for families. And this is the card that I have made. And Brenda has helped me a lot with this business. And it talks about being a military family. And what did you ask next? I forgot already.
No worries, Phyllis.
Oh, I know. So, what prompts my patriotism? Why am I so staunch about the flag and our country? And I think it probably stems from the fact that I was a child during World War II. I've been around for quite some time. And it was during World War II that I saw and lived America at its finest hour. And we were school children. We had air raid drills. We took metal, they had metal drives, newspaper drives, grease drives of all things. And we would take these things in our little red wagon to our school. And of course, I saw the gold stars go up in the windows. And my dad was not drafted because he was considered 4F because he had a wife and 3 children. Had the war gone on, I'm sure he would have been drafted. But many of our relatives and friends went in. And of course, one of the strongest memories I have as a child was going to the North Star Theater in Omaha and watching The Sullivan Story. The Sullivan Story was a story of a family of 5 boys, and they enlisted in the Navy and demanded to be on the same ship. And all 5 boys went down on the Juno in Guadalcanal. And that they made a movie out of that right away. And I saw that as a child. And I saw the sacrifice of American families firsthand. Because, of course, the Sullivans were from Waterloo, Iowa, which was right close to us. So I can't imagine not being a patriot.
And I love your patriotism. That's one of the things that I love most about you. I met Phyllis through a networking group, and she never ceases to amaze me. Her patriotism, but her just spirit, her energy. If you want to learn more about Phyllis, you should reach out to her. She survived the Black Forest fire. And you know what? The one thing that stood was the flag in her flower pot. And, you know, it gives me chills just thinking of the positivity that she had during that experience. She's just an amazing woman. FYI, I'm not going to share much about this, and we'll have to maybe do this on another show, but she's also been in Mary Kay for how many years, Phyllis?
49 years. I celebrated
49 years. Wow. So if you have a desire or need some Mary Kay stuff, you can reach out to Phyllis too. She knows all about Mary Kay. But, you know, tomorrow is Flag Day. That's why Phyllis is dressed as Betsy Ross today. She does do portrayals. We celebrate Flag Day. That was started in 1977 or 1777, not 1977. Right. We've been celebrating that since then. And so tell us a little bit about Betsy Ross and your portrayals, especially Betsy Ross, since we're celebrating Flag Day tomorrow.
Okay, Betsy Ross was born in 1752 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was 7 in a family of 17 children. Wow. They were Quakers, and she attended school, one-room school, or probably more than one room, because the boys and girls in her neighborhood in Philadelphia attended the same school. And she was very, very good with sewing. And when she graduated from the 8th grade, she was hired as an apprentice with William Webster's upholstery shop in Philadelphia. And she was born Elizabeth Griscom. But at the upholstery shop, there was also a young man who worked as an apprentice, and his name was John Ross. So they worked together, day in and day out. So guess what happened?
They got
They
married.
And so she became Mrs. John Ross. That's why we have Betsy Ross as flag maker. And the war was heating up at this time, 1774, 75. And General Washington felt that it was very important to have a banner, a flag, or a symbol of togetherness. Each one of the colonies had a flag, individual. But the General Washington was very concerned about unity, uniting. What could we do to unite the feeling of the colonies? So he thought that, you know, ships had flags, and they became very loyal to that flag on their ship. Countries had flags to show what great loyalty meant. And so they decided, General Washington decided to visit, well, as he was talking about establishing a flag, Betsy's husband's father was an attorney and was at the Continental Congress. And he said, well, you know, I have a niece who's very good with sewing. She works in an upholstery shop, and I'll bet she could design and make one for us. So General Washington and his General Ross decided to visit the upholstery shop, and then the rest is history, of course. He did have a design in mind, the flags and the field of stars, but Betsy suggested not to continue to add stripes to the flag, because she said, as we continue to grow in colonies, the flag's going to get too big for any carry. So they stopped at 13 stars and 13 stripes, and they added stars. And of course, you know, the first one was in a circle, and General Washington felt that if it were in a circle, then no colony would feel above or beneath the other. So that's how it happened to be formed in a circle. And so from that day on, then he said he commissioned her, and I did find a book that had the invoice for the materials that she had to buy in order to get. She stayed up all night under candlelight and lamplight to put the flag together, and then with a courier went to Philadelphia, went to the Independence Hall, and of course it was accepted. And on June 14th, 1777, it became our official flag.
I think that's so cool. And we could share for a long time in Phyllis's portrayals. She goes into much depth and detail in history.
Yes.
And we don't have that much time today. So that's why I suggest that you all reach out to Phyllis, especially if you're in the PTA or the PTO, or you're a teacher, especially of elementary and middle school, and even our high schoolers. They need,
oh yes,
I mean,
definitely.
they read history in books, but to hear it portrayed from somebody living in that time, and that's what Phyllis does, is she's learned so much about these different people. The Sullivans, she does a portrayal of Mrs. Sullivan too, where she talks about the life and living that life as that person. So if you're interested in that, it could even be a church group, a youth group, if that's you.
Scouts. I especially would like to target junior high and high school, because that's such a critical age to learn and to be infused with patriotism.
I agree. And I'm just honored to have met you many years ago, and I'm honored to be your friend. And and fellow companion here in Colorado Springs, fellow networker.
Yeah.
I just love Phyllis, her energy, and she's just somebody who can share so much wealth and knowledge about our military history. So please reach out to her. I would love for you to connect with her and learn more about what she offers, because we haven't even talked about everything. She's an author, she's a speaker, she does portrayals. So in order to learn more, you're going to have to reach out and get to know Phyllis. So Phyllis will, or I will, put her contact information in the chat below on this Facebook Live. And we'd love to know your comments. If you have some military history you'd like to share, maybe your parents or grandparents or grandparents served in one of our wars, one of the world wars or Vietnam, and you have a story, I would love to hear those stories. Let's see how many stories we can collect today about our military history and your relatives that have served.
Oh, I'll share a quick story if we got a minute.
Sure.
My grandfather on my dad's side served in the Spanish-American War. He was in the Philippines. He was a farrier. He shod the hooves of the mules they used in the Philippines, and he got all his teeth kicked out by one of the mules. And so see what the sacrifices are that have been made. But
Yes.
it's just one tidbit. Those are the kind of things that I like to hear about.
Fun stories of our legacy, our founding grandparents, great grandparents, and that founding people of our nation. So I would love, I could talk for hours with Phyllis, but we don't have hours this morning. So if you would like to learn more about her, contact her with the contact information in the chat. I will tag her. And if you'd like to connect with me, if you have a business and you are somebody who has served, currently serving, or a spouse or a child of somebody who has served, and you have a business, I would love to get to know you and maybe interview you on a Military Mondays. So go to militarymondays.info, militarymondays.info. That's where you can apply to potentially be on the show. And that's where you can see past episodes of some amazing entrepreneurs that have a connection to the military. So thank you again for being on this Betsy Ross / Phyllis Didleau this morning. And I look forward to seeing you all here next Monday on Military Mondays. Bye, everyone.
God bless America. Long may it wait.